Welcome to the Awaken Within podcast. I'm your host, Beck Russell. I'm a holistic wellness mentor, yoga teacher, intuitive Reiki practitioner, and the author of Life in the Soul Lane. This is a place of growth, healing, and expansion. Here, we explore well-being through a multi-dimensional lens, talking all things holistic wellness, spirituality, and life. Use this podcast as an opportunity to take a moment of presence and awaken your highest potential from within. Hello, Awaken Within community. I hope you're doing well, checking in well when you're listening in. I am very excited to share with you today's episode because this is a conversation with my personal herbalism mentor and trainer and teacher, Lily of the Herbs. I have just completed her amazing training, The Way of the Herbalist, and I can say that it has been one of the most amazing times during my life. Very, I'm just so intrigued by this whole world, and it really was a bit of a dream come true to be able to study this and dive deeper into this amazing practice and journey of herbalism. So let me introduce you to Lily. Lily employs a keen sense of intuition and softness of touch in her work as a herbalist and as a body worker and as an educator. She is committed to helping people lead a life more connected to the natural world and facilitates a variety of trainings on touch, movement, and the use of plants. If you'd like to join Lily in her quest to start a herbal revolution, I really encourage you to follow along the journey with her. So you can visit Lily's website, which is lilyoftheherbs.com, or follow her amazing plant-inspired account on Instagram. Her handle is @lilyoftheherbs. We cover so many topics today, so I hope you'll stick with us. I just wanted to preface the conversation by saying that both Lily and I live in the bush, so we did have a couple of little connection issues. But if you can stick with us, there is some amazing wisdom inside, some beautiful insights into all things plant medicine and herbalism. So please stick with us and I'll see you on the other side. Let's dive into this amazing conversation with Lily of the Herbs. Lily of the Herbs, welcome to Awaken Within. How are you checking in today?
Hi, Beck. Thanks for having me. I'm feeling good. Yeah, excited to be on your podcast.
Well, I'm excited to have you on here for this beautiful, grounded conversation about all things herbalism and wherever else we end up, which I'm excited to explore. But I just want to know what you did this morning to start your day off the right way.
Well, how did I start my day? I actually had a bit of a different morning. I think I woke up and just had some cuddles with my partner because I'd been away over the weekend at a women's festival. And generally we do our own thing in the morning, but we did that. And then, yeah, I just had a 10-minute meditation, which I do every morning, and a warm drink and a little bit of movement. And yeah, that's pretty much how I started my day. Yeah.
That sounds like a nourishing way to start the day. So I love that so much. And I like it how you said that it doesn't really sound like you're like super rigid with a morning routine or anything like that. It's like you seem to just flow with whatever you need on the day. So I love that. Lily, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit of your journey, I guess, as to what led you down the path of working with herbs and plants and the other healing modalities as well that you work with.
Yes. So yeah, this journey has been a long one, but very fluid and here today, but it's always been connected with plants. So I used to work in a native plant nursery when I think I was around 19 or 20, my first job, and they were really encouraging of me. My boss was a bit of a mentor and he saw that I liked facilitating. So he was getting me to facilitate workshops on how to propagate plants and collect seed and sprout grasses and native plants. And from there, I went and just, you know, went and flew the coop a bit and started traveling around Australia dwarfing organic farms. And that really led me to herbalism and to wanting to learn more about how to, how do we make medicine from plants and not just eat them. So that's then led me, that's been the journey really, and to where I am today.
You've had such an amazing journey, which I've been fortunate enough to, hear some of your stories and so much experience and hands-on experience and experiential experience. So I just love that. And I feel so grateful that I've been able to learn from you. I guess this is going to be it's like a how much time do we have type question, but I guess I want to know a little bit more about what herbalism can support our listeners with. So I guess it can be a whole bunch of things, spiritually or mentally, physically, wherever you want to take that.
Beautiful question. I think that herbalism can really support people in so many aspects of their life. There's that on that physical level, it can be really supportive in terms of balancing any imbalances that might be going on throughout the body physically, but just having a practice of harvesting plants and interacting with your environment can be enlivening and can create a deeper sense of meaning and purpose on this life that I think is in its essence healing. So yeah, I think that in itself for me personally has been what creates meaning. And I think when we also become more attuned to the subtle energies in ourself and in plants, and so you know, we can be subtly adjusting throughout the day what plants we might be working with, whether in tea form or in food form, and in that sense, kind of fine tuning ourselves. Because I like to see the body as not just something that's sick and fix or mask it, but something that is constantly adapting and changing. I hope that's that's a kind of yeah, rounded answer to your question.
Yeah, I love how you expressed that because, yeah, and it's such an invitation, I guess, to be a lot more present in our lives and bring more meaning to our lives, like you said. And yeah, it's never a case of what's good or bad for our body or our spirit or what needs fixing per se, but it's just more about being in tune and being present with, I guess, your internal and the external rhythms of nature and how we can work in unison with that. So I really love your description of that.
Mm, yeah,
Now,
beautiful. Great.
I know you've shared a beautiful free workshop recently, maybe a month or so ago, about ushering in a herbal revolution, which I'm just so excited about this concept. So I was hoping that you might be able to share a little bit more about why you think this is so important, particularly at this time.
Yeah, so that's been a topic that really came through for me when COVID became prevalent, and I think it there was a sense then there was a lot of fear, and I guess I was feeling like people were also feeling disconnected, and I started my podcast in at that time and in 2020, and was talking to some people and interviewing people, and what came through was that these people I was interviewing were not just herbalists, but they were also revolutionaries, and they were wanting to change the way we see health and medicine, and that they were often feeling like their work was undervalued or not appreciated or misunderstood. And I was feeling this deep sense of, this medicine needs to be herbal medicine needs to be widely accepted and shared. And that, we need this herbal revolution, because I work with clients daily and run workshops and hear similar stories of people feeling disconnected, feeling lonely, feeling powerless, and having tried everything and kind of coming to their end. And I'm not saying that herbalism will always be the answer, but I think that it's a way of empowering people and changing the paradigm with which we're in. And it's not a new thing. Herbalism isn't a new concept. 80% of the world still practices herbal medicine as their main form of medicine. I think, we've just forgotten that today, and the biomedical paradigm is the dominant one right now. And yeah, I think it's just a reimagining and reawakening how that looks, coexisting with a scientific paradigm and working together. So I'm wanting to see herbalists as more widely recognized forms of avenues for people to turn to. But I also want to revolutionize the way that herbalists are trained. And Beck, you've done my 4 month training now, and I think it's been awesome having you on there, and the way that you're already working with people, and I'm going to change the way we train herbalists as well, because I think that the degree that is offered at this point in time is lacking and missing many vital elements that are needed. So that was a big rant. But there's many facets to why we need a herbal revolution.
Mm. Yeah, and I guess it's not to take away any validity from studying a herbalism or a naturopathy degree. It's more about how can we integrate the science and the nature together to work in harmony. And I guess that's one of the big draw cards as to why I wanted to work with you, because it seemed much more valuable for me personally to learn from a real life herbalist with so much experiential kind of knowledge to pass down. So yeah, it's just such a beautiful offering that you've crafted there for us. And yeah, I agree. I think it is more just a remembering, like you said, it's an ancient practice. It is still practiced widely across the world. Just because we're not seeing it so much in the Western world doesn't mean, it's not there. And it is more about just seeing it as, a way to create more sovereignty, I guess, in our lives, and yeah, just and working with plant allies to help us to come back into more balance and more harmony. And yeah, I think it's just so beautiful. Um, this will lead probably perfectly into our next question, but I wanted to explore, I guess, how we can incorporate this grassroots herbalism a little bit more into our daily lives.
Yes, great question. So, yeah, I think there's lots of people who are curious about herbalism, and are kind of like, oh, what does a herbalist do? And I think that it's, in essence, herbalism or grassroots herbalism is really simple, and it can be incorporated into the daily life so easily. And I think grassroots herbalism really means just picking a plant or connecting with the plant and using it as medicine, maybe as simple as an infusion or a tea, or making your own homemade tincture. And it can be really, really simple. So I think for most people starting out, there's lots of books that you can read, and they can be overwhelming because herbalists tend to really fall in love with plants and get a bit nerdy, and they can just rant for pages and pages about just one plant, and can be really overwhelming. But and then and every plant is very versatile. And the more you get to know and spend time with the plant, you'll be like, oh, wow, it can do this and it can help me with and it has this flavor and that flavor and this taste and that taste. And oh my gosh, yeah, what is it even used for? It can, if you're kind of in the minds around it, it can be confusing. But in essence, I just recommend that people connect with one plant that calls to them. Maybe it's growing some lavender growing in their front yard, or some rosemary in the neighbor's front yard. It's drooping over the fence. And I guess it's just starting to form a relationship with that plant and smelling it and saying hello when you walk past and having a taste and seeing how it feels when you eat a flower or leaf. And yeah, starting to work with it and have cups of tea with it. And just starting to notice how any changes or feelings in the body and how it tastes and looks and smells. And from there, you might start to read about it a little bit and find that this plant can help you with your headaches that you get, or your anxiety in the afternoon, anything. And I think from there, then it just really spreads. It's infectious, that love of the plants. And once you've got a relationship with a plant, it will be with you, and often you'll just find it in the most random places and times when you need it. So that's kind of, I would guess, the simplest way to connect to herbalism. That's yeah.
Yeah, and it is about cultivating that relationship with plants, isn't it? And having that sense of reciprocity rather than thinking of it in a way of like, okay, this, according to this textbook, this plant does this thing, and I'm going to harvest some and just use it for my own benefit. It's more about sort of, yeah, creating that relationship and that two-way connection between the plant and yourself, isn't it?
Definitely. Thanks for bringing that point up, the reciprocity. I think it definitely is. And often, you won't just stop at kind of, just taking a leaf or two, it'd be like, oh, suddenly I'm getting the urge to take a cutting here, and then I've grown another plant and I'm spreading. And it's like, did you have the idea of doing that, or did the plant just want to be spread? Um, that's kind of, I've heard sort of people speak to that as well. And I think that often, the plants do want to be of service, and they are offering, in a way, I sometimes feel that they do want to be helpful. So it's, yeah, I think it's not always taking, but they do really respond to love, and to being harvested gently, and to be, only taking what is actually needed. I think, I've noticed with the plants in my garden that when I kind of don't go in there for a few days, they might start to look a bit neglected. But even if I'm just going in and not even watering, they look happier. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking too when you were saying that, because we've got a big veggie garden here, and I'm trying to cultivate some herbs and things as well, but I make it a big, I guess, ritual in the afternoons to go into the garden and, yeah, like you said, just show the garden love and appreciation. And sometimes I'm like, oh, see you tomorrow, garden, just like, yeah, having that communication with the garden. So it's just such a beautiful practice and such a beautiful way to connect with nature in general.
It is. And I definitely, yeah, I don't know if you feel that with your garden. I definitely feel my garden is also just like, you just feel that buzz. It's not even like they're saying anything, but this kind of buzz. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, yay.
We
Yeah.
kind of like touched on it a little bit, but I want to move now into foraging a little bit, because I think in our modern world, it is still, even though it's an ancient practice, it's like a foreign concept for a lot of us. And I even expressed this to you at our very first call, that I know I've got conditioning around this practice of foraging, and having this sense of some plants being potentially dangerous and that kind of thing. So I was hoping that you might be able to share a couple of tips around foraging and what the benefits are, and how we can, I guess, get over that hurdle of any fear that we might have instilled in us about foraging.
Yeah, definitely. And that is something that I am very passionate about. Foraging. Yeah, I always make a garden wherever I live. I'm a bit of a gypsy, but I always, first thing, always create a garden. And then I'm also always foraging. Like a lot of the herbs I use for my clients and that I make is herbs that have just seasonally wildcrafted and foraged. And wildcrafting means to go out and to forage. And that's often where I feel it's like a deep ancestral sense of comfort and peace that I get. You know, I could be feeling a bit grumpy that day, got out of the wrong side of bed, and then I'll be out there and I'll see, you know, just something's in flower or blooming, or there's a berry that's just ripened, and I'm like, oh, it's time. Like now's the time to harvest. And so I'm gonna do a big harvest and always feel really, yeah, just really tapped in and yeah, like just a sense of like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I really feel very passionate about encouraging all of everyone that works with me to also forage. And there is a fear around like, how will I properly identify it? Like, what if it's poisonous? And yeah, we do need to have some respect for the natural world and understand that there are plants which are toxic when consumed internally. That you know everything's medicine to a certain degree. So it's just about developing the senses. And so what I do, and what you did over these 4 months is teach people to sit with plants and to attune the senses. And we grow up and we know how to recognize brands. We know how to work an app phone like this, and it's the same with connecting with plants. So you basically need to just go out and walk. That's what I recommend to people. Wherever you live, in the city, in the suburbs, or in the bush, go out and walk. And when you discover a plant, stopping and just catches your eye. I don't need to know why, but I think this is the coming to the body. It's not a mental thing. It's kind of like a curiosity that will be like, oh, what's this plant? And start to attune the senses. So it might be like running your fingers along the leaves or the flower or the bark and sensing what textures you can feel and having a smell and noticing aromas and starting to really look at the formation of that plant and how does it grow, like what does it look like, and learning to describe it yourself so that you can potentially look it up in a book, or you know, sometimes using the internet as a tool there to get a proper identification of it. And over time of doing that, you'll start to, I guess, develop a new language within your body. And so you'll recognize smells again, or you'll be able to see plants and differentiate one plant from the other, even if they're quite similar. And that about tasting things at a certain amount and then waiting a certain amount of time to know if they are poisonous. There's ways, I guess, that you can develop that language so that in the future you'll be walking and you're like, oh my gosh, today I went for a 20-minute walk and I identified like 10 plants and I harvested them little try and again, you know, and I recognize it from when I identified it last week, and it just becomes this like the landscape opens up and you start to read the landscape. Hope that wasn't too rambling, Beck.
Yeah, no, and it really is just an exploratory thing, isn't it? An experiential thing, and I guess being observant and, like you said, activating your senses and just being there and being present and being in the moment and just actually doing it. I guess like with anything, you've got to give things a go, and if you really want to yeah integrate that in your life, you just have to start and build your confidence, and then it'll become, yeah, I guess more like second nature.
Definitely. It is, I guess, a rewilding of the body. I know that term's thrown about a bit. And if it is definitely rewilding, like coming back into our animal, primal, instinctual body, you can also use the brain and use tools that are available, like Google or whatever those tools that people use to kind of to kickstart you. But I think it is, yeah, it definitely requires practice and time. Yeah, great. She talks about the artist's date or going for a walk, and how that can be a practice of create blooming inspiration. And I think that that book, it's a kind of, I think about it like the herbalist's way, like the way of the herbalist is what I call my course, and it is about going out and being with your curiosity and allowing yourself to be led. And I think often the plant that you need will come to you in these walks. And if you're remaining open and just observant, definitely.
I was just thinking then, do you believe that there are either one plant or a couple of plants that are kind of not made for a particular person, but yeah, that you're sort of synced with? Or do you think that can change over time? Or what are your thoughts and your experience with that?
Like you said, I actually do feel that way. I think it can change over time, but there will be times when there'll be a real resonance. Like for me, for a while, it was like randomly parsley and I had a very strong affinity. Um, and and then that can change, I think like mugwort's been a really big one for me, a big teacher. St. John's wort's come in and out. Um, but it's been Blue Lotus was really big. It depends on, I think, as well on where you're living. But some people, I think there was like 6 people in this course that talked to me about lavender as being very strong affinities with. Were you a lavender girl as well?
No, no,
No.
not yet.
Yeah, what were yours? Have you had any like that?
Well, the initial one was cacao. Yeah,
Hmm.
working with the heart. And although in saying that, I am feeling a slight pullback from that at the moment. So I'm just kind of surrendering to that and just creating space for something else to come through. So I'm waiting for that at the moment.
Yeah, beautiful. Interestingly, I've felt a real pull away from cacao as well, and too much for me at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. And I have absolutely loved it, and it's been so, yeah, healing and heart opening for me. But I think, yeah, maybe you just don't need to be working with certain things all the time. So I'm open to whatever comes in next.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, me too. I'm also always open.
Lily, what are some of your favorite ways to work with plants?
Yeah. I'm I'm a bit of, I've got a few favorite ways. I think tissues are something I have a deep resonance with. I love making blends. I'm an air person and can be a little bit come really strong and start with things and then struggle to pull them off long term sometimes working on that. But I love to start with a tincture and dose for maybe I'm not sure if that's because I don't need it anymore or because I've been airy and got distracted. But yeah, the tincture is definitely one, and I respond really in a very subtle way. So I often only need like 2 to 3 drops to feel the effect of something. I don't really like using capsules. I don't like swallowing herbs. So I prefer to really taste them. And so teas and tinctures for me have been big. And I'm generally a fresh tea or infusion is what you call it in herbalism, but I'm definitely a fresh infusion person. I don't tend to be drawn to dried teas. And I love aromatics. So anything that's aromatic, I will have a cup of that every day or in the morning. So they're probably my main ways that I work with. Oh, and oil infusions. That's something I've got into a lot over the last few years is doing Abhyanga, the Ayurvedic
Yeah.
self-oiling practice. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's been really big for me because I experience dryness and live in a dry climate. Have you done it as well?
Yeah, yeah. It's such a beautiful practice. And yeah, I guess it's just an opportunity for you to connect in with yourself at least once a day. If that's the only self connection practice that you're doing, it's just a nice opportunity to nourish your body, nourish your skin, and just check in with yourself as well. So I think it's, yeah, a wonderful practice.
Mm, yes. Yeah. Yeah,
And I have to,
definitely. I think yeah, there's just having what were you gonna say?
no, I was going to agree with you with the tinctures and the infusions and the oils. They're probably some of my favorite practices as well that we've learnt throughout the training this year.
That the sorry, which one? The infusions?
Infusions and tinctures, and also the oils as well, oil infusions.
Yeah, they're just so nourishing, aren't they? I think the oils are probably the most nourishing, and I think that the tinctures and teas are probably the most have the biggest and quickest effect on the nervous system. That's my personal opinion. Like just one drop of tincture can really change the outlook, I've found.
Yeah, definitely. We might just shift gears a little bit now and talk a little bit more about your work and your trainings and your offerings, because I know that you're on a bit of a herbal mission, which I'm a big supporter of, and sharing this magic and wisdom and inner knowing with as many people as possible. So, could you talk to us a little bit more about the Way of the Herbalist training, which is what I've just completed and walked alongside you with for the last 4 months? So, yeah, I guess however much you want to share about that training and any other trainings as well, and what your intention behind them are.
Yeah. So the way of the herbalist came to me. I've tried to put it out there. Honestly, I've actually tried to get it out there a few times over the last few years, and it hasn't been the right time. And this year in August was somehow the clouds parted, and yeah, it all came together and flowed, and we've had the most beautiful group of women joining us, and it's I really wanted to create an alternative to the current model, herbalism model that's available today, which is a 3-year degree. And yes, I'm, not excluding it, or I think that it is really valid and you can get a lot from it. But I think because a lot of our universities today have become bigger entities than they originally were. And in that, when they become big, they lose some of their some of the magic, I guess. They just really lose some of the magic. And so many things are unfortunately missed out of the curriculum, and other things I feel are brought in just to tick boxes and make sure that um, people are at kind of an industry standard. And that's for me not exactly what herbalism is. It's more than getting the referencing right. And so I basically thought, how can I share all the magic that I feel is needed and kind of like put it into a bottle and shake it all up and offer it out to people so that they've got what it takes to start up their own little practice. And in Australia, it's interesting fact is, and same in America, it's you don't anyone can legally call themselves a herbalist and a naturopath. You don't actually need to do the degree. And I can see both sides of the coin here. That can be frustrating for people who have done a degree and spent like $60,000, and it's like, oh, and then blah blah is calling themselves a naturopath. What? So I see how that can be really frustrating. And then there's not necessarily government regulation to ensure that people are practicing safely. So I can see that side of things of why that could be a good thing. But on the other hand, it also does mean that people who have a deep connection to the earth and a very strong passion for plants and want to make homemade medicines and offer them to people, and to practice in a really holistic way, they actually can. And so I created this course for people who want to do that. And so we make 16 different medicines each week, and so you get the full range, and we learn about the different elemental qualities of each medicine, and then also the elemental qualities of the human and the body systems, and how to mix them and interact them and wildcraft and come from that place, and also listening to the more subtle energies. So that's where it really came from, and I think this is the first time I've done it, and it's felt like, it's gone really well. Like, it's been great having you on there, Beck. I've loved your energy, and I know you're already adding it and practicing it into what you're offering. And that's what I think is beautiful, is people like you can bring herbalism into their practice. You know, there's so many body workers or people working one-on-one, maybe kinesiology or Reiki, and sometimes like having a potent, beautiful medicine that's subtle and works on a lot of other levels can take people to the next level that they might, not go to with just hands or just talk, you know? So I think yeah, that's what a herbalist is. They're a healer on many levels. So yeah, do you feel like that's something that you can really bring now back with your
Mm.
yeah, with your clients?
Yeah, and I mean, it would be so amazing and beautiful as a standalone practice. But yeah, like you said, if you've got another practice that you're already seeing clients in with either one or multiple modalities, it's just such a complementary way to enhance, excuse me, enhance the well-being for your client. And I'm sure that they would just so appreciate it if they're open to and curious about working with plants. So um, I I just feel, yeah, so grateful to have had that opportunity to work with you in this way and to bring it into my life and to my work, because it's just been such a lifelong dream in my adulthood anyway to do that. So the fact that you've brought that offering to life for people like myself and others is just such a gift.
Yeah, well, thanks for being on it, because you're medicine yourself. Like, I think that's something that is what I want to come through is as well. Like, when you make your medicine, like Beck's medicine, Beck's tincture, like, it's going to be completely different to Lily's tincture. And it's, the way that the plant that you had that connection with, that you harvested, that you put in the bottle, it's not just that physical properties of the plant, it's all of your magic as well. And I think that they can take that home with them, like your client, and have some of your flavor and energy. And also the one of the plant, we don't want to give them our energies that aren't potentially needed as well. But there's a lot of unseen magic that goes and is weaved into the medicines too, even though, in its essence, they are often very simply made too. It's not a complicated practice. Often it's often the intention and the love that's behind it.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I loved about your work as well and your training, is that we did explore those energetic and elemental qualities of the plants as well, not just the, I guess, scientifically or, active constituents of the plant. So yeah, it all works in synergy and it's all as important as the other. So I really, really, really loved that as well.
And something else that I just wanted to mention was something else behind it is I do have talked about this a little bit on throughout with people that I work with and my students, but I do have dreams of creating the herbal Hogwarts. So I'm not exactly sure exactly where, but right now a lot of my trainings are online. I do run in-person trainings, but eventually I am wanting to start a herbal school where people can come and work for a season and do a 4-month training, if they need, or even just a week long, and kind of be in touch with the seasons and have that hands-on element. And so that's been a dream for really the last 10 years. And every day it's kind of coming closer. And so I'm kind of this next year coming towards, I'm in this process of calling, following like this mentorship, which is, the way that herbalism used to be practiced is you would find a mentor. So I'm in the process of taking graduates from my 4-month training and mentoring them in running circles and hosting foraging days and teaching on some of my trainings and kind of expanding the team. I'm kind of hoping that, Beck, you'll want to do that, because I love your energy. But that's for another time, that chat. But yeah, because I'm seeing this vision that is way bigger than myself, and seeing the medicine. It's often women. that are coming through. And so there's big things on the horizon for sure.
I'm so on board with that vision. It's actually, well, we don't have our cameras on right now, but it's actually giving me goosebumps, like hearing you like speak about that, because I can already visualize the whole thing like done. It's like it's sitting there in the ether and it's going to come through soon. And I'm just so, yeah, so on board with your mission and so grateful for you doing this work and sharing this knowledge. And I guess the more of us that have this remembering to our herbalism roots, the better our world is going to be.
Definitely, it is. And it's like, I think Charles Eisenstein has that quote, like, the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. And I feel that herbalism is that. And everyone that gets drawn to work with plants, like, we're really just a conduit, you know. I think there's been this separation and this forgetting that there isn't that much separation between us and the plants. And once we can remember that and get into this body embodied sense of that and trust and take these kind of leaps of faith and realize how naturally and how easily it comes. I think, yeah, it is really just around the corner. And I think I see it, you know, popping up all over. You know, there is herbalism all over Australia, but it branching out as well. You know, you're up in Queensland, I'm in Victoria, you know, it's growing. The herbal revolution is well and truly here.
And I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Well, Lily, this has been so wonderful. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your magic with the listeners. I've been listening to it for the last 4 months, so so grateful for that. So thank you. And just to finish off, can you share with us? We've got the Way of the Herbalist training. Any other trainings or one-on-one sessions or anything that the listeners can explore working with you?
Yeah, so I've got next year coming up in March. I have a 4-day training happening in Victoria, and that's a nice way to meet with me in person. I do offer one-to-one sessions quite sporadically, but if you send me a message on my Instagram, which is Lily of the Herbs, I can generally find a spot. I tend to be a little bit more focused on the group containers at the moment, but open to working with people one-on-one. So yeah, that's kind of how you find me. My website is lilyoftheherbs.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lily, for your time today. I really appreciate it. And let's start a herbal revolution.
Woo! Thanks for having me back. It was beautiful to chat with you.
I hope you enjoyed listening into that episode as much as I enjoyed recording it for you and just having such an amazing chat with Lily about all things herbalism and magic. So if you're not already, make sure you go on and connect with Lily. You can follow her at Lily of the Herbs on Instagram. You can also connect with me over there as well at _Beck Russell. Now, because I have finished my amazing herbalism training with Lily, I have a very exciting announcement, and that is that I'm just about to open up some space for herbalism consultations. It really is a dream come true for me to be able to bring this magic to the world. It's something that I've wanted to explore deeper and dive deeper into for such a long time. So I'm so grateful that it's finally happening. I'm going to do a whole episode on this next week to dive a little bit deeper, but just to give you a brief overview, in my sessions, we are going to dive really deep into whatever is going on for you at the moment. So you might have some symptoms presenting, we'll be exploring your lifestyle habits, nutrition, stress, all of those kinds of things, as well as looking at your personal constitution and energetic makeup. And you might come to see me for a variety of reasons, but just some examples might be maybe you're a bit stressed or overwhelmed. Maybe you've got some digestive issues or nervous system issues or fatigue, low vitality. There's so many reasons why you might come to see a herbalist. But these are just some of them. And There really are so many beautiful, amazing herbs and plant medicines that can support us during these, I guess, trickier times that we can find ourselves in during our life. As I said, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this in the next episode, but I have an amazing launch offering, a very special introductory price for you if you already know that you would really love to book in for a herbalism session. So at the moment, you can use the code podcast, and I'll leave that in the show notes as well, to get yourself $50 off the initial consultation. So you can book that in online from anywhere in the world, or if you are a local to the Whitsunday area, you can come and see me face to face, which is incredible. If you have any questions at all, please just send me a message. Come over onto Instagram at _BeckRussell, and I will be happy to chat through any questions with you. And be sure to check out next week's episode, where I will go even deeper into all things herbalism, my experience, and how this is going to look for me in my work and my offerings. As always, thank you so much for being here and just showing up for yourself each and every week, taking some time for you and taking some time just to explore this world of holistic wellness, spirituality, and just life in general. Until next time, take really good care of yourself, and I'll chat to you again soon.